The world you defend with such intensity is a costume you forgot you were wearing. The character you play, the achiever, the sufferer, the seeker, the one who must prove his or her worth, was written by habit and rehearsed by fear, and you have mistaken the stage for the sky. Freedom is not won by tightening your grip on this mask. It arrives when the mask loosens, slides, and falls. You do not need to become anything other than what you already are when no one is left to impress, an immeasurable, effortless presence in which thoughts come and go like birds migrating through an endless autumn. To live as that is to stop demanding that the river flow in straight lines. It is to let the dance move you, rather than demanding choreography from life itself. Surrender is not defeat. It is the rediscovery that there was never a war. Ego is the echo of a name shouted into a canyon of memories. It returns to you sounding large, important, authoritative, all trumpet and banner, until you step close enough to notice that it is only your own voice, bounced off the cliffs of conditioning. You may call this echo me, and guard it jealously, adding medals to its uniform, polishing its stories so they gleam in candlelight. Or you may gently turn toward the canyon's silence and feel how vast the sky becomes when you stop listening for the next approval. In that vastness, you are already what you seek. The horizon does not ask permission to be wide. Now, before we proceed, consider how you came to believe that you are a separate captain, steering a separate ship through a hostile sea. From the beginning, there were names, roles, labels, convenient tags to pass around at the marketplace of language. You were taught to be you as one teaches a child to wear shoes, a necessary fitting for negotiating the pavement. But the shoe is not the foot, and the foot is not the walker, and the walker is not separate from the earth that rises to meet each step. The ego is a marvelous tool, a map that can point, coordinate, and compare. But maps are not landscapes. They never smell of rain, never taste of salt, never hold the warmth of a friend's hand. When we live inside the map, we forget to taste the ocean. Surrendering the ego is not the annihilation of personality. It is the release of the illusion that the personality is a fixed central sovereign who must control, predict, and possess. Imagine a whirlpool in a river, distinguishable, describable, photographable, yet made entirely of river. The swirl has a character, a style of motion, even a persistence, but it has no existence apart from the water. Likewise, your quirks, your laughter, your tears, your talents, they continue, but as expressions of the current rather than a commander of it. When the swirl knows itself as river, anxiety relaxes. There is nothing to secure because water belongs to water. We are afraid of surrender because we confuse it with disappearance. But the musician who surrenders to the music does not vanish. The music plays through her hands more beautifully. The surfer who surrenders to the wave does not drown, he rides. The lover who surrenders to loving does not lose himself. He discovers that self was too small a room for the heart. In the same way, when you let go of your tight grip on who I must be, your life ceases to be a negotiation and becomes an improvisation. You begin to trust that existence is intelligent enough to breathe you without your constant supervision. Of course, the ego objects. It says, if I let go, chaos will devour me. But notice, chaos is the word we use for patterns we haven't learned to dance with yet. The seasons are chaotic if you insist on summer forever. The tides are chaotic if you refuse to get your feet wet. Life is not an obstacle course to be conquered. Ed, it is a symphony that includes drums and silence, storm and stillness. Surrender is the willingness to hear all of it, to be played by all of it, without insisting that only the violins are allowed. Ask yourself, what is it that is aware of your thoughts even now? Thoughts come and go like the weather, sunny, cloudy, sometimes a thunderclap. But what is the sky that contains them? You cannot see the sky by staring at a singular cloud and arguing with it. In the same manner, you will not find yourself by arguing with your thoughts or collecting better ones. You discover yourself as the openness in which thought appears and disappears, as the listening that remains after the stories have finished telling themselves. So I invite you to a daring experiment, one that requires more courage than conquest, the courage to let go, For a few moments, drop the task of being somebody. Drop the weight lifting of your identity. Breathe as if the universe is breathing you, because it is. Notice that sensations arrive unbidden, sounds arrive unbidden, this voice arrives unbidden, and in the midst of this arriving, where is the manager? Where precisely is the controller you've been told you must be? If you look with fresh eyes, you will find only life, doing itself. Let us turn the jewel and see other faces of the same truth. Consider the actor who forgets he is on stage and becomes trapped in his role. He fights imaginary enemies, defends imaginary honor, and weeps real tears for a script that did not ask him. When the curtain falls and he is reminded, he laughs, not because the suffering was trivial, but because he recognizes the context. In precisely this way, awakening is not a rejection of our human dramas, but a remembrance of context. You are the stage as much as the actor, the audience as much as the play, the silence as much as the sound. The ego is the insistence that you are only the role, and a very serious role at that. We can speak of the ego as a contraction. Feel how the body tightens when you repeat, I must, I should, I can't. It is as if the vast open sky pinches itself into a small fist. This contraction gives the sense of control, yet it produces the very tension from which we seek relief. Surrender is simply the unclenching, the gradual softening by which the sky remembers its expanse. Notice that life has always been breathing you without your consent. Heartbeats arrive without asking you to sign a contract. The body repairs cuts in the night while you are away. The more you look, the less you find an isolated executive at the helm, and the more you see coordinated intelligence, a dance of innumerable causes and conditions flowing through. But if there is no separate captain, what then of responsibility? It is a fair concern, so let us refine it. Responsibility rooted in ego is a performance. Watch me be good, watch me be right. Responsibility rooted in surrender is intimate participation. Let me respond to what is, the way a tree responds to light. One is tense and self-referential. The other is creative, attuned, and alive. Water does not try to be wet. It is wet. When you rest as what you are, responsible action flows like water, fitting the shape of the moment without strain. Paradox is our teacher here. You become most yourself when you stop trying to be yourself. You gain genuine influence when you cease your demand to control. You love most deeply when you let go of the need to be loved. Paradoxes are not riddles to be solved. They are doorways through which the mind steps out of its habitual straight lines and discovers the curve of life. The curve is generous. It rounds our sharp edges. Think of a child learning to walk. She does not strategize her balance. She tumbles into it by play. She fails and squeals and tries again, not to earn a certificate, but because movement is what life does. In this sense, spirituality is a return to playfulness, a willingness to fall without calling it failure, a willingness to stand without calling it victory. Ego wants a medal. Life wants to move. Surrender is living medal-free. There is, tucked away in each of us, a storyteller who spins the yarn of me. He is industrious, tireless, and frequently terrified. He interprets everything as evidence for or against his ongoing thesis. I am this type of person. The world is this kind of place. He arranges the furniture of memory into sensible rooms. But have you noticed that in quiet moments the walls grow thin? A bird sings and the story forgets itself. A sunset happens and the storyteller loses his place. Grief arrives and words fail, and in the failure something true shines. That shine is what we are pointing toward. The storyteller can continue. We need not fire him. We simply stop taking dictation as if truth depended on it. Another angle. Look at how fear of loss binds us. We clutch at relationships, at status, at plans, as if clinging could prevent the ocean from turning. Yet every wave must fall to rise again. The crest is inseparable from the trough. This is not a tragic flaw in the universe. It is the very rhythm that makes dancing possible. The fear that surrender will take away what you love misunderstands. Surrender reveals that loving was never possession. It was participation. You cannot hold a song in a box. You can sing it. You cannot own another person. You can meet them freshly, endlessly. now. Surrender clarifies perception. When the insistence, I must be safe from all change, softens, reality becomes vivid. Colors deepen, not because the world has changed, but because you have stopped bracing against it. In this relaxed seeing, compassion arises naturally, not as a rule, but as recognition. The other is another whirlpool of the same water. The boundaries that once felt like walls now feel like patterns, useful for conversation, unnecessary for separation. This is why kindness has a peculiar ease when you are not busy defending a castle. Finally, let us address effort. Must I effort my way into sewer? That is like running to catch your own shadow. Surrender is not the result of strain, it is what remains when strain relaxes. You cannot push the river into flowing. You can stop resisting the current. Effort has its place. Build a house, plant a garden, practice your art. But the foundation is trust in the living energy that moves all things. From that trust, effort becomes enjoyment, and goals become games you play with a wink. Now, how does all this meet your daily life? The email, the commute, the argument, the loneliness at 2 a.m. Surrender is not reserved for mountaintops and monasteries. It belongs in the kitchen and in rush hour traffic. Begin by noticing where you habitually clench. Perhaps it is the jaw when someone disagrees, the belly when money comes to mind, or the shoulders when uncertainty appears. Do not scold the clench. Feel it. Place attention in the tightness as if your awareness were warm sunlight. Often, without any heroic intervention, the muscle softens. The softening is an embodied yes to what is. In that yes, intelligence that is not merely conceptual has room to operate. Next, practice the art of pausing. Before answering the phone, pause. Before sending the message, pause. Before defending yourself, pause. The pause is not delay, it is space. And in space you see options. To speak from fear or from clarity, from the story of me under attack, or from the recognition of us unfolding. The best words are not the quickest. They are the ones arising from the stillness that hears more than it tells. You can also refine your relationship with goals. Keep them, by all means. They give form to play. But hold them as one holds a bird, firm enough to care, gentle enough not to crush. When the goal becomes a hostage-taking, you lose both the bird and your freedom. Instead, consult the body. Does the pursuit feel like pushing a boulder uphill while cursing gravity, or like walking a path that rises and falls with the land? The first is ego's siege, the second is participation. The difference is not in the number of hours you work, but in the quality of listening you bring. In relationships, surrender means meeting the other person as weather rather than adversary. Weather changes. You bring a coat, not a lawsuit. When someone you love is angry, can you feel the wind without taking it personally? This does not mean tolerating abuse. It means removing the fiction that their storm defines your sky. Boundaries, then, are not walls, but clarity about which climates you choose to stand in. From clarity you can say no without the poison of self-righteousness and yes without the hunger of need. Consider also your relationship with time. The ego treats time as a ledger, proof of accomplishment or evidence of failure. Surrender treats time as a canvas for presence. Wash a dish with total attention, and the dish becomes a bell. Walk to the train with awareness in the soles of your feet, and the pavement becomes a teacher in gravity and grace. This is not self-improvement, it is intimacy. The more intimate you are with each moment, the less you require the next moment to redeem you. When fear arises, and it will, experiment with this. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of fear? Ask, how does fear feel precisely right now? Name the sensations without the story. A flutter in the chest, heat in the throat, a tremor in the hands. Let the sensations move as weather moves. Often when the narrative is dropped, fear does what thunderstorms do. It passes, leaving the air washed and ready. Even when it lingers, it becomes less monstrous and more like an intense visitor to be respected and learned from. There is also the practice of generosity. Give something each day, attention, forgiveness, a small kindness that costs you the currency of pride. Generosity unhooks the ego's reflex to hoard and defend. It reminds you that the river flows through all cups, and that water, when poured, is not lost. It joins itself. Generosity is not sacrifice in the Tao sense. It is participation in a larger motion. As for creativity and work, surrender means trusting the process as much as the product. Sit to write or paint or code or design as if you are a window the wind moves through. Let drafts be messy. Let ideas arrive out of order. Ego despairs at imperfection. Life composes with it. The bird does not calculate the exact arc of its flight. It feels it. Trust your felt sense. Give it room. Refine later with affection. Finally, cultivate a daily, ordinary ritual of silence. 5 minutes will do. Sit, feel your breath breathe itself, and allow the parade of thoughts to pass without marching along. You are not trying to stop the parade. You are sitting on the curb, smiling. In time, you will notice that silence is not the absence of sound. It is the spaciousness that allows all sounds. You will recognize this spaciousness as your native atmosphere. From there, you enter the day not as a soldier, but as a dancer. Let us return to the heart of the matter. Who are you without the story of who you are? Language trembles here, because what you are is not an object among objects, not a concept to be pinned and named. You are the luminous field in which naming happens. You are the openness in which this very sentence appears and dissolves. When the ego hears this, it may try to capture it as a grander identity. I am the openness. But notice, the moment you grasp it, it becomes another mask. Freedom is subtler. It is the relaxation of grasping at all. The human condition, if we must call it that, is the adventure of forgetting and remembering. We forget our vastness so that we can taste a strawberry as if it were the center of the universe. We remember our vastness so that we can love without making prisons. The rhythm between forgetting and remembering is not a mistake. It is the music by which awareness explores itself. Surrender is consenting to the music. Suffering, then, is the friction between life's movement and our insistence that it move otherwise. Pain may visit, bodies are tender, hearts are tender, but suffering grinds when we refuse the dance. This should not be, we declare, and we brace. The brace multiplies the pain. When surrender enters, it does not deny pain. It says, yes, this too, and in the yes, resilience flowers. Strangely, this yes often clarifies the practical steps we must take in response. Acceptance does not make you passive, it makes you accurate. Personal growth, that popular phrase, is often the ego's clever disguise for self-rejection. I will finally be acceptable when I'm improved. But a flower opens because sun and soil conspire, not because it resents its bud. Real growth is not a campaign, it is ripening. When you surrender the project of becoming worthy, you ripen into the worth that was never absent. From that worthiness, you can learn new skills, heal old wounds, change your habits, not to fix a broken self, but to express a whole one. Spiritual freedom is not elsewhere. It is not exotic. It is the intimacy of this breath, the honesty of this feeling, the courage to be as you are before the mind writes its review. Imagine standing at the edge of the sea at night. The surface is black silk. Waves whisper their old stories. You extend your hand and feel the cool, living water. That immediate contact, no commentary, no conquest, is the flavor of freedom. It asks for nothing and includes everything. All along, the ego has been a guardian with poor eyesight. It tries to protect you by constructing fences out of judgments. This is me, that is not. This is safe, that is dangerous. This is allowed, that is forbidden. Some fences are prudent, many are relics. Surrender is the maturing by which you thank the guardian for its service, and kindly retire it to a gentler post. You do not demolish the fence in rage. You walk past it with a smile, noticing the gate was never locked. What of meaning? We are so hungry for meaning that we often forget to taste the meal. Meaning is not a trophy on the wall. It is the flavor of participation. When you are fully present, even the simplest act, tying your shoes, shimmers with significance. Meaning, then, is synthesizer rather than trophy. It weaves moments into music. And the more you surrender, the more the melody reveals itself as already here, not waiting at the end of accomplishment, but humming in the middle of peeling an orange. When clarity dawns, humility follows naturally. Not the humility of self-belittlement, but the humility of astonishment. How could I have ever believed I was separate from this? You do not become a saint, you become porous to wonder. Birds become messengers, traffic lights become mindfulness bells, arguments become invitations to listen below the words. Even grief becomes a ritual of honoring, not an enemy to be slain. There is a legend we have to outgrow, that peace is a prize for the perfect, awarded after you have passed all tests. Real peace is the ground of being. It does not wait. It is here, and the test, if there is one, is whether you will allow it. Permit peace to be your default, and watch how action becomes precise, speech becomes gentle, and courage becomes quiet. The world may not change to suit your preferences, but your intimacy with the world will deepen beyond preference. Let us end, then, not with a conclusion, but with a widening. Close your eyes, if you like. Feel the breath arrive of its own accord, as if the tide were entering your chest. Feel it leave, as if the moon were drawing the sea back to itself. Let sensations be rain on a broad field. Let thoughts be birds that may land and lift away. Do nothing to manage any of it. Simply notice that noticing is effortless. Now, with the next breath, allow this simple understanding to settle. You are not the knot you've been busy untying. You are the space in which the knot appears, loosens, and dissolves. You are not the noise, you are the listening. You are not the wave, you are the water, waving. The ego will return as it does with to-do lists and evaluations. That is fine. Bow to it the way you would bow to an old teacher whose lessons you have absorbed. Then turn softly toward the open door of this moment. As you rise and walk into the ordinary miracles of your day, the kettle warming, the sun thinning the night, a message lighting your screen, remember that surrender is not a special posture for special hours. It is the willingness to be met fully by whatever is here, and to respond as life responding to life. If you forget, good. Forgetting is part of the dance. Remember again, and feel how the whole universe remembers with you. There is a still point within motion, a silence inside every sound, a vastness in the heart's smallest ache. Rest there, now, not later, not when you have earned it, not when the world approves, now. Let peace be ordinary. Let love be unreasoned. Let freedom be the absence of your argument with reality. And when you step into the next moment, step as the river steps, by flowing without needing to arrive.